Thank you, friends, for making the time to hang out with the Family Enrichment Hub. Thank you for joining us again today. My name is Stella Obokelo, and I'm going to be continuing with our series on money matters within the family. Oprah Winfrey, in one of her talk shows, mentioned something very profound. She said, money is worthless if it does not give you the opportunity to love more. And she goes further to say that a legacy that everybody needs to build is one that touches lives, is one where you're able to illuminate other people with your life and with your resources. Friends, we are going to delve deeper into the pain areas where we struggle with regard to money matters in our families. And I want to start us off with encouraging all of us, in as far as is possible, with us as couples, I encourage us to find meaningful unpaid work. When you're both working, it reduces the pressure and the tension that comes from having to survive on one's salary or one income. And I say this while cognizant of the fact that along the line, a lot of issues may happen. Life sometimes happens in such a way that you'll find one partner can no longer handle the stress of work and they have to abandon their employment. You may find issues of pregnancy and childbirth come into play, and the mother has to leave their paid job and they come and be home without contributing financially. And then also issues of you've probably been laid off. And so I appreciate the fact that while we have to put all this into consideration as far as is possible, friends, it is important for the two of you to be working and contributing separately to the well-being of your family with regard to finances. And then also another thing that we need to appreciate, friends, is that your agreed position as a couple is supreme to any other outside view, to any view of your friends, of your family, of your relatives. And I want to share a quick story here. Many years ago, I was listening to a Hishi program on Radio 1, and a gentleman had written in with a complaint. He said he was the working partner in their relationship, and the wife was a stay-home mom. That was their agreement. And they had decided that they were going to save money in order to do a certain activity that they had agreed on as a couple. So when the money reached 8 million shillings, and since it was the wife keeping the money, the lady did the unthinkable. She got the 8 million shillings and took it to her spiritual leader. Honestly, the fight was an ugly fight. It was an uncalled for fight. Why? Because the lady dishonored their position as a family. She did not put into consideration the fact that her husband was pulling off the entire financial obligations of their family, and she decided to take a decision against his will and without even consulting him. And as you'd expect, that was an unnecessary fight with regard to money. And so to help us, let us be committed to our agreements that we make at the family level. Even if you have to make an adjustment, kindly consult your partner. Do not take any decisions without the consent of your partner. And friends, another one that I want to encourage us on, let's be flexible and supportive, especially when the financial goalposts change. You may find yourselves in a situation where the major breadwinner is no longer earning. He has probably lost a job, or they have developed a certain health issue. I found myself in a similar situation, by the way, some years ago while I was still in active work. I got a back injury that took me out of work for over 4 months. And so during that time, my husband had to take on the total burden of the financial responsibility of the family. And he did an incredible job. And so I want to call on all of us, friends, let's support one another. Let's be flexible, especially when the situations around our money changes, when the breadwinner is no longer to pull it off, what do you do? And just to help us bring it better, ask yourself, this person who is no longer able to pull off the financial weight, assuming it was a worse situation, assuming he passes on, what would happen to you? Would you look on, or would you quickly step up in order to support your family financially? And so if you can do that in the very worst case scenario, surely I want to encourage us to still support one another when the unlikely, when the unfortunate happens within our families and the breadwinner is no longer able to pull it off financially. I've met families and a few couples where ladies especially are not comfortable to take up the financial challenge when their spouse is no longer able to meet the needs of the family. I encourage all of us, friends, let's not remain with old traditions, old school behaviors of a woman's money is a woman's money. Let's support one another. Once you decided to come together as a couple and as a family, you become one. And so let your money be seen to support and help the smooth running of your family in the absence of the support of your spouse. And then also, I have seen strange behaviors in some families where a partner who is the major breadwinner is comfortable splashing money to third parties, to relatives, to outsiders. They would rather dish money easily to others. And when it comes to their own household, they struggle. Don't find yourself in a position where your children, where your spouse have to be on their knees all the time when they need food, when they need essentials, when they need to survive financially. And it is a matter of pulling ropes. And yet when it comes to issues of, for instance, associations, clubs, and different memberships, I have no beef against this. And you're easy to supply your money to these. Friends, like the Bible says in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8, that he who does not take care of the welfare of his household is worse than an unbeliever. Do not be worse than an unbeliever in failing to take care of your family. And so when you do this, you will avoid some of these ugly money fights that will ensue from that kind of behaviors and mannerisms. And also, let's be grateful with the resources that we have. In economics, we are taught that resources are scarce. And so because resources are scarce, it will never be enough. Let's not be wasters of what we have. I will draw our attention to the way many of us handle issues of food in our kitchens. There is a lot of wastage that happens in our kitchens if we are keen enough just to observe. That food speaks to resources. That food speaks to money. And so to avoid straining yourselves, indeed with regard to money that is being wasted in the kitchen area, pay attention and avoid the wastage that happens there. And also for especially the ladies who love to do impulsive shopping. I also love impulsive shopping once in a while, but let your impulsive purchases not be too significant to affect and twist the budget dynamics of your family. That will be able to help you to reduce on the money fights and pains that will ensue as a result of wastage of our resources. And then I've also seen something strange in some families. People have confided in me the pains that they have within their homes with regard to property management. You find a couple is working together and they are both pulling it off financially, but a gentleman decides to register all the properties in his names alone. And I see so many women they are quietly shedding tears because they see the unfairness, because they feel a sense of loss at how they bring in their money. They contribute to the well-being of the family. They contribute in order to amass the property that they have brought together as a family. But their names do not appear anywhere in these assets. Friends, I want us to put ourselves in the position of those ladies. Put yourself in her position. If it were her doing what you were doing, would it be comfortable for you? And so if you see that it is not comfortable for you, that will help you to do otherwise and to do smarter with regard to property management within your family. And that will help you to take away and indeed eliminate the pain that is coming from the way you're managing how properties are registered within your family. And another thing, friends, I want to encourage us, let's be willing to change for better within our families. Like I mentioned in one of our videos, whatever is not serving you well, why are you holding on to it? A behavior, a mannerism that has not helped to push you further, that has not helped to improve your family, why are you holding on to it? If clearly the way you're handling your money matters as a family is not serving your interests, there is no peace, there is no unity, there is no harmony, why are you insisting on a behavior which is breaking your family? Adjust for better, change for better, be willing to embrace new ideas, new behaviors, new patterns which others are doing, which is working for them, for the good and improvement of your money management within your family. And then also I want to encourage all of us, friends, let's measure ourselves against the best. I normally see districts doing benchmarking. You find one district is moving all the way to another district in order to just learn and see and pick on the best practices. How is this district managing? How come they are thriving and prospering in a certain aspect? And so they pick the best practices and take them back and implement them back home in their districts, just to bring it closer home, friends. In our families, there are usually those people that we are all able to see, and you admire the way they are managing their homes. You admire the way their families are thriving. Friends, I encourage all of us, just like districts are able to move and copy best practices from the ones that are doing better than them, let's pick on the same, friends. Pick families. Go out and ask questions. Benchmark and say, how is this thing working out in your family? How are you doing this? How are you able to prosper and thrive in an area which has totally defeated us? Learn from the best, like they say, and you will be able to transfer whatever you learn into your family and improve the way you handle your money matters in your family. Dear friends, as I conclude, I want to draw our attention to the book of Numbers chapter 11 verse 5, where Moses was leading the children of Israel out from Egypt to the promised land. But the children were complaining. They were complaining about the garlic. They were complaining about the fish which they no longer have. They kept telling Moses, why have you brought us here? Why do we not have any more fish which was free while we were in Egypt? Why have you brought us here where there is no garlic and no leeks? And they complained to Moses, and yet they had the manna which the Lord was sending to them on a daily basis. And they said, we are tired of this distasteful manna. We no longer want it. We are missing our garlic and our fish and our leeks. Friends, I want to draw attention to the fact that sometimes money matters, just like the story of the Israelites when they were transitioning into the promised land. Our money challenges are sometimes seasonal issues. The Lord is only testing us. He wants to prove and see what is in our hearts. He wants to know what really we stand for. He wants to know whether we can be able to move on and live even in the midst of a temporary challenge, because He knows that He has prepared for us victory ahead. And so, friends, it is the same with our finances. Sometimes when you go through temporary setbacks, a spouse is no longer working, a spouse is no longer able to pull it off. How do you know that God is not testing you to see what you're going to do in order to move you from this level into a bigger level? Dear friends, our families is what we have in our hands. Let's manage them well. Let's handle them well. Like I mentioned, it takes two to tango. It takes two to make a marriage work, dear friends. It takes two to make our money matters work out and make them thrive and prosper and excel for our good and for our benefit as families. Dear friends, thank you so much for listening to us. Thank you for loving our channel. Thank you for subscribing. For those of us that have not yet subscribed, kindly do so. And together, we shall transform our society through the family. God bless you. Bye.